For this blanket, I chose to use the King Cole Stormy Big Value Super Chunky yarn. I feel like this yarn is perfect for this blanket because it's beautifully marled and it's not just so soft that you lose the cables, but it's soft enough to be just a big cozy blanket. It also takes the Russian join very well. So this is just a yarn that I highly recommend. And for this blanket, I used just about 18 balls for it. So when you're ordering yarn, I recommend just ordering 19 balls just to be on the safe side, because you need about 1,600 yards or 1,463 meters. Now this is the color Thunder, and it is 100% premium acrylic. You're also going to need some knitting needles. These are a US size 15 or 10 millimeter, and it's with a 30-inch or 75-centimeter circular knitting needle cable. You're also going to need a tapestry needle with a sharp point because that really helps with doing the Russian join with the yarn as you're moving on to your next skein. You'll need 2 stitch markers. You'll also need a cable needle and a pair of scissors. In demonstrating on how to make the blanket, I'm not going to be doing as many repeats as is required in the pattern. I am going to cast on the same amount though, so this way I can still show you how to do the ribbing, how to do the setup row, the cabling, the decrease row, and then the final ribbing as well as the bind off. So we're going to begin by casting on 150, and you'll use the long tail cast on method for that. So go ahead and cast on 150 stitches, and then I will meet you right back here so that we can get started on the ribbing. I've cast on my 150 stitches, and now we're ready to begin the ribbing of the blanket. Now the ribbing will have a section in the bottom that is done that's pretty good size, and then you're going to continue working ribbing up along the sides of the blanket, so that way the border is worked as you work the pattern. Now to begin row 1, it's very easy. We're simply going to do a K2, P2 rib. So we're going to knit the first 2 stitches. So knit 1, knit 2, and then we're going to purl the next 2 stitches. So purl 1, purl 2. And then you continue in that fashion. So you will knit 1, knit 2, and then purl 1. Purl 2. And you just continue doing the knit 2, purl 2 all the way down to the end, and you're going to end with knitting 2. For row 2 of the ribbing, we're going to continue in the K2, P2 ribbing fashion. So we're going to begin row 2 by purling 2. So we're going to purl 1, purl 2. Then we're going to knit 2. 1, 2. And then that's all we do down this row. Purl 2 and knit 2. And you will end by finishing off with a P2. So this end will look just like the final end, so that way they match. Now that I've finished row 2, you can begin to see the ribbing taking shape. So what you're going to do to continue with the ribbing section is repeat those 2 rows 5 more times. Now, because I'm demonstrating this for you, I'm not going to do the 5 more repeats. Instead, I'm going to just jump right into the setup row. Now, in the setup row, we are going to increase our stitches, and we're going to increase a total of 12 stitches. And that's just so that the cables don't pull the blanket in. So this way it keeps it nice and flat. And it's a very simple increase. We're going to be doing the knit in the front and the back. But before we do, we're going to also begin our ribbing. And this is also when we're going to need our stitch markers. What we're going to do is start off by doing knit 2, purl 2. So that's knit 1, knit 2, and then purl 2. Purl 1, purl 2. Then we're going to do that 2 more times. So for a total of 3 times of knit 2, purl 2. So knit 1, knit 2, purl 1, purl 2, and then 1 more time. Knit 1, knit 2, purl 1, purl 2. Now we're going to place our stitch marker in. So place that marker, and this area here all the way through the blanket will be a continuous ribbing. And it's going to look really nice. Once you get going in it, you're going to be really happy with it, I think. Or at least I hope so. So now we're going to begin our increase. And we're going to work this 12 times. So we're going to knit 9. So knit 9 stitches. 2, and after you've knit 9 stitches, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, then you're going to do a knit into the front and knit into the back. So knit into the front, knit into the back. And there you go. So we've increased by 1 stitch. And we're going to do that a total of 12 times. So I'm just going to show you one more time. So you're going to knit 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I always like to double check that I did it correctly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then knit into the front, knit into the back. So repeat that of the knit 9, knit front and back 10 more times. I'll meet you when we have about 18 stitches left. Now I'm down to having 18 stitches remaining. So I'm going to knit 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to take my stitch marker. I'm going to place that on my needles. And now we're going to do the other ribbing side. So we're going to do a P2, K2. So purl 2 and knit 2. And then we're going to purl 2, knit 2, 2 more times. And now we're ready to begin the pattern. In this pattern, row 1 is considered the wrong side, and all the wrong side rows are worked the same. So I'm just going to show you this one time, and then as we move along through the pattern, when we get to rows 3, 5, and 7, I'll just say work that wrong side row. And it's very, very easy. So what we're going to do is begin by purling 2. And then knit 2. And an easy way to remember the border as you're working it is you're always going to purl the purls, knit the knits. So no matter what side you're on, that's how that works. So we're going to purl 2 and knit 2. Purl 2 and knit 2. And then we're going to slip that marker as we come to it. And then all we do is purl. So we're going to purl to the next stitch marker. So just purl away. And then when you get to that stitch marker, which is right here on this side, you will just purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry, I'm looking on the wrong side. We're going to knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. So you'll just finish out this ribbing by knitting the knits, purling the purls, and then I'll meet you for row 2. Now with row 2, we are now on the right side. We're going to begin having a little bit of cable fun. So be sure to have your cable needle handy. And we're going to begin by first working the ribbing. And that ribbing is going to begin with a knit 2 and then purl 2. So knit 1, knit 2, purl 1, purl 2. And do that 2 more times. So knit 2, purl 2. knit 2, and purl 2. And we're going to slip that marker. And now we're going to do a cable 6 front. So what that means is we're going to take our cable needle and we're going to slide the next 3 stitches off purlwise, and we're going to hold it to the front. And then we're going to knit 3 off of our left hand needle. So 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to place these 3 back on my left hand needle. Now some people like to knit off the cable needle. It's totally up to you with whatever your preference is, but I like to work off my left hand needle. And now we're going to knit those 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to begin the pattern repeat. So we're going to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll do the cable 6 front, or the C6F. So taking those 3 stitches purlwise, holding them at the front, knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Place those 3 stitches back on your left hand needle and knit those 3. And that's your pattern repeat. So we'll knit 6 and then do a C6F, or cable 6 front. And you continue doing that repeat all the way down to the stitch marker. And then when you get down to the stitch marker, you'll end by knitting the knits and purling the purls. So it'll be P2, K2, P2, K2, P2, K2. And that's how you do row 2. So I finished row 2, and then I worked row 3, which is that wrong side row. Because remember, row 1 and just all the wrong side rows are all the same. And that's where you just work the ribbing and you do purling all the way across. Now row 4 is on the right side. This is kind of a rest row. This is one where you can just totally relax, and I will show you why, because it is probably the easiest out of all of them. So we're going to begin by doing the ribbing. That's with, that's with a knit 2, purl 2, 1, 2, and purl 2. Then knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, and purl 2. And then that's going to take us up to our marker. And once we get to our marker, all we do is knit. We just simply knit across. So just knit, 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 and then when you get to the stitch marker, you'll just finish out your ribbing. And you'll just knit the knits, purl the purls, and then work that wrong side row. And I'll meet you back here for row 6, where we're going to do just a little bit more cabling. So I finished row 4, and I worked number 5 as that wrong side row. And now we're ready to begin row 6. I went ahead and worked the ribbing though, because I figured you've probably already got this part down pat pretty well. So I just want to walk you through the parts of row 6 where we're doing the fun cabling. So we're going to begin, after you slip that stitch marker, you'll begin by knitting 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then we're going to use our cable needle, and we're going to do a C6B, or a cable 6 back. So I take my right hand needle, I always put it up front when I do this, because off the left hand needle, I'm going to take the next 3 stitches, and I'm going to slip them off purlwise onto my cable needle, and then hold them at the back. Then I'm going to knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to put this right hand needle back up front so I can put these stitches back onto my left hand needle. Or like I said before, you can knit off your cable needle if you prefer. Then knit those 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. And the beginning of this cable actually begins your stitch pattern repeat, because after you did that cable 6 back, we're going to knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's do that repeat one more time. So the cable 6 back, I'm putting this needle up front, so I can grab these next 3 off my left hand needle, slide them off, hold them at the back, and knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Bringing this back up to the front, so then I can slide these stitches back onto my left hand needle. I'm going to knit those 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now knit 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you should have your cable starting to look a little bit like this. Now just continue with that repeat until you get down to your stitch marker, where you will end your ribbing with the P2, K2 3 times, and then work that wrong side row for row 7. And I'll meet you back here for row 8. I finished row 6 and row 7, so that wrong side row I have completed, and now we're ready for row 8. And row 8 you will love because it's super easy. It's a repeat of row 4, and that's the one where we just work the border, the ribbing border, and then we just knit across, and we end by finishing out the ribbing. Now to continue with the blanket, you repeat rows 1 through 8 until the blanket measures about 55 inches or 140 centimeters, and you'll end after you complete either row 3 or 7. So since I just finished row 7, I'm now going to work with the decrease row. So I'm going to show you how we do the decrease after you've hit your 55 inches or 140 centimeters. So this is what we will end up doing to bring our stitch count back down to that 150 that we started with. So to work the decrease row, we are going to be on a right side, and we're going to work our ribbing edge just as we've been doing. So I'm going to work this up real quick, and I'll meet you at the stitch marker. Okay, now I've slipped my stitch marker. Now we're going to do the knit 9, and then we're going to knit 2 together. So knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're going to knit 2 together. So just by grabbing the second stitch right here, insert our needle through both of them, knitting those 2 together. And you're going to do that a total of 12 times. So we'll knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and knit 2 together. And you'll do that across until you're 6 stitches away from your stitch marker. Then you're going to knit those 6, and then you'll finish out with your ribbing edge. And that will bring you down to a total of 150 stitches. So I'm going to finish this row, and then we will meet up to begin the ribbing for the end. Now we're ready to begin the first row of the final ribbing section. So since we're on the wrong side, we're going to start it with a purl 2. So we're going to purl 2, and then knit 2. And then you're just going to continue in that ribbing pattern until you get to the very end of this row. So as you get to the stitch markers, go ahead and slip them off. So you can remove those guys because we're not going to need them anymore. And then I'm going to finish this row. And then to continue with the ribbing pattern, you'll just work rows 1 through 2 of that first ribbing section 5 times. This way it'll be just as long as the beginning of the blanket was. And then I'll come back and show you how to bind off in pattern. After you've worked rows 1 through 2 of the initial ribbing section 5 times, we're ready to do the bind off. And we're going to bind off in pattern. And what that means is we're going to bind off knitwise where there's knit stitches, purlwise where there's purl stitches. And the easy way to know that is knit stitches are the flat ones, purl stitches have the bumps. So I'm going to get you started on this. So your first stitch, go ahead and knit that. And then knit your second one. And then take that first loop, pass it on over. Now your next stitch, because it has the bump, we're going to bind off purlwise. So we're going to purl that stitch, and then we'll take that first stitch, pass it on over. And the next stitch, because it's a purl, we're going to purl it, and then pass that over. And then we'll come up on the next one, which these two are knit, so we will knit, pass over, and then knit the next one, pass it over. And then the next one is purl. So that's how you bind off in pattern. And when you're all done, I would love, love, love to see the blanket that you've made. I do hope you found this tutorial helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And I will see you later with more patterns and tutorials. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.